Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Honor the Land, presented by FanDuel on the Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Zay. And as much as we don't want to talk about that monstrosity we saw on Sunday, we have to. The Browns lose 34-10 to the Detroit Lions after taking a 7-0 lead, giving us a little bit of hope, and then everything crashing and burning after that. Zay, we're going to get into a lot of stuff today, but I want your immediate reactions. How are you feeling?
I'd be feeling a lot better had notification popped up on my screen this morning, whether it be a quarterback change, a coaching change, or some kind of change. But I I'm just so disappointed, fatigued, and tired. It's the same song every single week, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like the station is going to be changed anytime. But hey, I know you're feeling good. Your Jackson Dart quarterback got
Yeah.
yourself a dub. How are you feeling after that?
I'm feeling great about that specifically. Prayers for Malik Neighbors. Obviously, you hate to see anything like that. I believe Odell tweeted something out about he called the turf at MetLife death life. Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, the reality is turf in general, but that turf has taken a lot more athletes than it probably should. I was happy to see Jackson Dart win, even happier that I threw a little bit of bread on the Giants to win the game. But the Browns storm cloud kind of weighed over the top of that, especially because I don't know, you were probably watching the Browns game just straight through. I was at home. I'm home in Boston. So I was watching Red Zone. Within like a minute of each other, the Giants and the Browns scored. So both of them were up like 7-0. I was excited, and then again everything came crashing down. But no, I'm good. It was a fun day of football. Started at 9:30 in the morning, ended past midnight. It was awesome. It was a great day of football outside of the Browns. But yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm not going to rule out a notification coming up on our phone during this episode. I'm not going to lie to you. I think it could happen, but I don't think it's a coaching change notification. As much as we all have seen what happened, we talked about it last week. The final straw that's going to break the camel's back is very likely going to be Dylan Gabriel not playing well if that were to happen, and then forcing Stefanski out. I'd be shocked if after a 1-3 start with the offense that's been playing so far with Joe Flacco at the helm, that Stefanski would be let go. I feel like that's hard to expect right now.
I mean, as much as I want it, realistically, it's probably not happening during the season as much as I want it to happen. But I think there does come a point, though. We keep talking about Dylan Gabriel being the quarterback that's the ultimate breaking point on whether or not he is canned or not. But when does it get to a point when the stubbornness is too much? If you continue to roll out Joe Flacco, and like he said at the end of the press conference yesterday, you have no intentions on going moving on from Joe Flacco. When does the locker room start to give up? It seems as if the Browns aren't the only team going through something like that. Our bigger little brother, the Ravens are in the same predicament. It looked like Lamar Jackson quit on the Ravens yesterday. Is that a coaching thing? Is that them saying that they're done with their coach? Like, it's gonna get to a point where eventually, if Kevin Stefanski's not gonna make a move or make a change, and he waits too long into a point where the season is lost, I can't imagine that's good for the locker room and good for the players, and you being the leader and saying, "Hey, I know we're 1-7, but now we'll do the quarterback change." Like, you have to make the change sooner rather than later.
100%. And we talked about it last episode. I'm trying to caution everybody who's watching and listening to say this is not a thing because I love the Giants. But Brian Daboll and the Giants just set a precedent for what you can do and how you can change. I don't want to say the trajectory of the season because it's one game, but change the dynamic of a locker room, the excitement of a locker room just by one move. And the
It's not even
reality
the
is,
only example. Think about last year, Sean Payton with Russell Wilson to Bo Nix. It was a quick turnaround. These guys, that's the difference between these coaches. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but it's
no,
just
you're good.
frustrating that we look at other coaches around the league making those tough decisions. We saw with Mike Tomlin when he benched Justin
Yeah.
Fields for Russell Wilson. You look around the league all the time. Joe Flacco, when John Harbaugh, they pulled him out and put in Lamar Jackson. Why is our coach the only one that doesn't have the stones to make the tough decision when it needs to be made? That's my question I have.
I don't know, to be honest with you. And I think it's a thing where, like, yes, you want rookies or whoever to develop. And I think that Dylan Gabriel, a third round pick, calling a spade, is a more developmental project than a Cam Ward who started week one, or even a Jackson Dart who just came in this past week. But like you said, it's less about development and the quarterback position and who's physically taking snaps, and more about the dynamic of the locker room, more about the commitment to your teammates and will to win. Like I look at the Jerry Jeudy press conference yesterday. He seems frustrated.
Pissed.
Jeudy is like, there's been drops. Like Jeudy is not fault free. He's not completely perfect, but I get it. Like you got a receiver who's kind of approaching his prime, near his prime, who needs to figure this stuff out. You got the best player in the NFL in his prime, who granted just signed a big extension. He wants to figure this out. I mean, the reality is guys need to be bought in to some kind of winning culture, to some kind of commitment to improving. And insanity is making the same mistake over and over and expecting a different result. The Browns right now are insane because they continue to roll this out, expecting a different result, and they never get it. They never get it.
You know, the most interesting thing that I took from that whole Jerry Jeudy press conference. What do you think this is? This is saying it without saying it. This is literally read between the lines. Jerry Jeudy goes, defense making plays, offense got to make some plays. Remember last week when I said this feels like the Remember the Titans scenes where this feels like the offense and defense is divided? We are at a point now where the defense is doing so much that you now have offensive players coming out and saying, damn, well, the defense is doing their job. It's our turn to do it. Who's the leader of our offense? I know the quarterback has got to make plays. I know Jerry Judy's got to catch the ball. I know we got to find a way to run the ball. But at the end of the day, this is not just a one-season thing. This is an every-year thing. We look up again, and Quinshon Judkins has 125-plus total yards. He touched the ball 25 times total. Best player on our team, and yet we're still throwing the ball 34 times. It doesn't make sense. I actually went back and I looked at it. We have thrown 744-ish, give or take a few pass attempts, compared to 430 rushing attempts since the beginning of 2024 last year. How in the hell is that putting your team in position to win? There is no world, and then the comment that comes with it is, well, you're going to pass it a lot when you're down. In what world does DTR is supposed to throw the ball 47 times a game? Yeah. No world is that acceptable. This is a coaching problem. This is an offensive chief problem. And who is the leader of that? I'm sorry. It's your head coach. He needs to go.
Absolutely. And I think that, like, you look at the offense and past production that it's had, it's mirrored the complementary football that the defense has been able to play. And the defense has been playing very, very well. Obviously, we talked about it. This was, I thought, a different beast than any of the offenses they had played. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs looked exceptional on the ground. It was the first time the Browns' run defense looked human. That was the reality of it. But at the same time, like, you're up 7-0 in a game. You have opportunities on third down to stay ahead of the offense potentially climbing back. How can you sit here? Again, I just talked about it. It's true insanity, and expect different results if nothing is changed. Like, what? I'm genuinely asking you, Pat, literally anybody who's watching or listening, what has changed the past, let's call it 19 months, this year and last season? What has changed? Obviously, you tried the offensive coordinator change. That didn't work. The quarterback change. That didn't work. While the jury is still out on Dylan Gabriel, nothing has changed there. He's not a starter right now. What has changed? What has changed? The only big thing is the infusion of youth. And to be honest with you, it's only looked good so far because of the game flow that they've had, right? They've had to throw the ball a bunch. The one player who stuck out to me, regardless of game flow, is Quinshon Judkins, 100%. I don't think he's him or Carson Swessinger, I think, best player from the class so far. But, like,
Fannon's up there too.
But the thing with Fannin, like, I go back to that Bengals game. He's awesome. He's going to be a staple in the Browns offense for a while. I'm going to say it. His numbers were inflated because the Bengals just sat back in zone. That's the reality of it. There hasn't been a replicated performance of that. He's a rookie. I'm not saying, he's a bust or anything like that. If anything, he's been one of the best rookies in the NFL this season. But even then, it's a game flow thing where the Bengals are just sitting back in the zone and you're checking the football down. That's the reality of it. The only guys who have broken out of that game flow shell offensively really have been Quinshon Judkins and I guess Dylan Sampson week one. Fannin was really good week one, and now you wait on the quarterbacks. Like, what is changing? I don't understand what is changing to expect different results other than a new draft class, which, by the way, everybody gets every single year.
Yeah, nothing's changing except for the things that you mentioned, which is the offensive coordinator, which is the receivers coach, or the offensive line coach, or the quarterback. But one note on the Harold Fannin. I know his box score doesn't say it, but like when you watch Harold Fannin, it's giving like tight end one, like top three. Like that, I'm not saying he is top tight end in the league, but his energy, the way that he's yakking and breaking play, that play yesterday where it was just a little dump off to him and he broke out of the tackle, spun off, and then fought forward and put the ball forward to try to get the first down. We didn't go for it in 4th and inches after that, but it's little things like that that show me what he needs the ball more. Quinshon Junkins having 125 plus yards through the air and through the ground. He needs the ball more. If Jerry Judy's dropping passes, fine. If Isaiah Bond's going to go up top and make catches over defenders like that, he needs to get the ball more. Like this, you have players that are executing. Unfortunately, I mentioned it on the broadcast yesterday, and it's so funny. We watched Sam Laporta right before halftime catch a seam route for like 30 yards to set them up for a field goal. Right before that, I'm like, when have we seen a tight end from the Browns do a seam route? You couldn't name it. You want to know shortly after that what they did? They threw a seam route to a tight end. But do you know who they threw it to? It wasn't David Njoku. It wasn't Harold Fannin. It was Blake Whiteheart. That is what they do. The same Amon Ra little play action dump off touchdown pass. We look every single week across the league and we see teams running that play for their best player, whether it be a tight end or a receiver. You know who we do that play to? Luke Whippler. Like, what are we doing, bro? Yeah. Like, we are trying to be too cute, and it is pissing me off. This isn't it's an execution problem, but when it all boils down, man, this is a Kevin Stefanski leading the offense problem, man. I'm tired of it.
And this is the so no 20 plus point performances this year
Pat,
so far.
Do us a favor, bring it up.
Yeah, bring the tweet up, Pat. We have the numbers, but I will say while Pat's looking at the tweets, like the elephant in the room here, I alluded to it earlier, are the older players on the Cleveland Browns. I'll talk a little bit about that as soon as the tweet loads. But yeah, look at this. Last 21 games. Find the 20-point performances. Let's go. Let's see if we can name these. So 32 was the loss to Denver. 24 was the win. Who was that win against?
I think that was not the Ravens.
No, Ravens was 29. Steelers. I remember they scored 29. Oh, that's right. Snow Globe in the Steelers game. Yeah, but like no 20-point performance. This is insane, guys. This is insane. How can we keep looking at this again and expect a different result? I don't understand.
Like, look at that stretch, Max. Look at that. It's 7-3, 7-6-3, 10, 16. Like, that is abysmal, bro.
Yeah.
And in that game, I believe it was the 16 loss or what, one of those stretches, DTR threw the ball like 40 plus times, multiple times.
Yeah. And the reality is that brand of football, like it's a good thing to have a brand of football, to have an identity. And I think the Browns walking into the season, trying to create that complementary football identity was inherently a good thing, but it only works when you can score 20 plus points. Like, look at the great teams across the league right now. The best team in the NFL, you could say whoever, probably the Buffalo Bills right now. The Bills are ripping off 30-point games like you wouldn't believe. I know the Browns defense is probably good enough to, hold the Bills to less than 30 points. But at the same time, number one, I'm not convinced because the offense isn't doing the defense any favors. But number two, even if they did, how could you be confident in your offense to score more than 20 points against the Buffalo Bills? Teams like that, you have to score. You have to score. You have to take chances on quarterbacks. And I love Joe Flacco. We all love Joe Flacco. It's not it right now. It's not it right now. But I do want to get back to the point I was just making about the elephants in the room. Harold Fannin Jr., like we have talked about, has been absolutely exceptional. He is very slowly turning into, the starting tight end. David Njoku is in a contract year, and he's 29 years old, guys. I'm putting it out there now. I don't want it to happen. I don't know how real it is. But if this Browns team continues to slip, I know he loves Cleveland. I know he loves being a Cleveland Brown. Business decision-wise, it would not shock me if he was traded. That's the reality of it. It would not shock me if he's traded in a contract year, 29 years old, somebody, coming up underneath him, not to take his spot, but the Browns have youth at the position they already trust. It wouldn't shock me. It really wouldn't. And there are teams out there that need tight ends. Like, you have to start winning games or else guys like that, guys like Jerry Jeudy, Greg Newsome, who's been pretty solid this year, right? Maybe you ship him off and you get a pick for like they have to start winning, or those players are literally going to leave. They're going to go. And then you're going to be back to square one with, again, a really good rookie class who you really, really trust and really, really like, but minimal veteran stars. And again, that is a recipe to put us probably in a worse position at the end of September next year than we are right now. That's the reality of it.
It's so weird too because I'm watching David Njoku yesterday, and it's just like, remember a couple. I think it was in person. I don't think I talked to you or it was on a stream. But remember when I said to you, I don't know, David Njoku kind of looks a little heavy, like his belly kind of out, or he look a little slow. I'm
Yeah.
watching. I'm like, bro, I don't know. Something look off with David Njoku, and when you got Harold Fannin playing like that, obviously, I don't think there's his value isn't anything through the roof, but like it's gonna come a point when you're looking and someone's gonna need a tight end. Maybe what can you get for David Njoku? I would hate to see David Njoku leave because he's a he's one of those guys like that you want to see wear brown and orange forever. Like when it's all said and done and he hangs it up, he's probably gonna be one of those guys that comes back to Cleveland and retires because this is ultimately his spot. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it, if this does keep going down, man, Greg Newsome's value probably is higher than it's ever been right now,
Yep.
and
Yep.
especially knowing that you can get him on the contract next year, you're gonna get some serious value for him. Eh, we're gonna if we're 1-7, I don't know, man. We may have to start getting ready to say some goodbyes.
And the thing is, well, two things. Number one, David Njoku loves Cleveland. Nobody wants him to leave. Nobody wanted Nick Chubb to leave,
You know,
right? Nobody wanted Joe Flacco to leave in 2023. It's a business at the end of the day. And this is not to say anything that the Browns like, oh, they don't care about the people. They obviously do, but it's a business. It's a business first. And if a business decision benefits the Browns to move off of a star when it makes sense, which in this case with multiple players, I truly think it does from a business sense, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. And if we're sitting here, I don't want to get to 1-7 just yet because I do think the Dolphins and Patriots games are winnable. But like 1-5, you got Minnesota, who honestly is very banged up. We'll talk about them at the end of the week. Very banged up. Probably going to have Carson Wentz, but still a very good defense. As good as probably the Bengals you played week 1. That's a tough game to win. On the road against Pittsburgh after their bye week, that's a tough game to win, and they look like they're firing on all cylinders. 1-5 is staring us in the face. That's the reality of it. 1-5
and
is staring us in the face.
and not only is it staring us in the face, we may be on the same page with the whole Kevin Stefanski thing, but I'm sorry, bro. If we get to 1-5, like I'm trying to pull up the schedule right now. Here it is. If we lose to the Vikings and we're sitting at 1-4, and then we lose to the Steelers, how does Kevin Stefanski make it to the Dolphins, bro? Only reason why I say that is because the defense is so good. Like you're basically telling your defense, yeah, I'm sorry. It's like leaving your soldier out there. Like what's that sniper or the movie with Mark Wahlberg, Shooter? They got left out there. It's like they stranded us. And it's like just go figure it out. And you got Myles Garrett being the guy out here who's trying to lead the troops back in. But unfortunately, it's just a death sentence. Like we're leaving our defense out there to dry, knowing that our offense ain't gonna do nothing. How do you continue to go out here and sell this, even if you do get a win? Like if I'm on the defensive side of the ball, I'm getting tired of coach telling us that defense, offense, special teams, we got to get better. We'll look at it next week. We'll come out. We'll get better. Like we aren't getting better because for the past 20-something games, we've been exactly who our record says we are.
100%. And the reality is, talked about earlier in the show, an extremely similar situation has happened about 7 hours away in New Jersey, where last week the Giants lost a game to the Chiefs that you feel like they could have won. The defense played solid. The offense was abysmal. And after the game, guys like Dexter Lawrence, they said they're tired of losing, especially those talented defensive players. The best player, Dexter Lawrence, best player to walk through the doors since Eli Manning. Myles Garrett's the best player to walk through the doors in Berea, Ohio since who knows? Like, that's the reality there.
Did you see his face at the end of the game?
No, I didn't.
He looks like a man who's fed up.
Yeah, they are fed up. But there's a super similar situation happening with the Giants. And you know what they did after the coach was on the hot seat, the defensive players were fed up, and a move needed to be made? They made a move. They changed quarterbacks. The only thing, again, holding on to Stefanski's job right now is the quarterback. I don't know if it's getting delayed because, we want to continue to push this job past whatever, the bye week, whatever it may be. The only thing left to do before starting a new head coach search is let the head coach work with this guy. Brian Dable, before the game, said, this decision is solely on me. He wants to wear this decision with Jackson Dart. And again, it's been a week. It looked good for a week. It's been a week. He's got the stones to do it. Does Kevin Stefanski? We're going to find out pretty soon.
Like you have such a great opportunity ahead of you too. We talk so much about these first 6 weeks, but even if when you look after these first 6 weeks, it's the Dolphins, Patriots, and Jets, and the Ravens. The Ravens look abysmal right now. They are they look bad right now, and their players are quitting on them. Like they're actually Lamar hamstring. I got a Ravens guy he's saying you couldn't pay him to believe that it was a hamstring injury and that it was actually Lamar pulling himself out. Then you got the Raiders and the 40. Like you have a stretch of games here where you could ultimately take yourself off the hot seat. If you brought Dylan Gabriel in here and you strung together a Dolphins win, a Patriots win, and a Jets win, not only did you revive your seat, you probably brought a new sense of energy back into this locker room. And if you can get that, and if you can give that energy to the defense, they will propel you to where you need to be. You just have to give them a sliver. We're not even asking for a whole piece of cake. We're asking for a little sliver of it on the offensive side of the ball. And we can't even get that. That's the part that makes me wonder how much longer is this until the team starts giving up on their leader.
I mean, I think it's happening. Like that's I think it is starting to happen in the post-game pressers, emotionally, and honestly, just the way the schedule is set up, where you got 6 really tough games at the beginning of the season. We talked about 1-5, 2-4 being a real spot they could be in, and that is the trajectory that they're on right now. That's the trajectory that they're on right now. And here's the crazy thing, like you just talked about. Let's say they are 2-4, right? You have a stretch of 4 winnable games within the months of October and November to, like you said, kind of save yourself. But that's not going to happen unless you make a change at quarterback. That's not going to happen unless you lean into the process that you went out on a limb and did with Dylan Gabriel. You got to see him.
And you know what's crazy if they don't make a change? This is exactly the type of situation that you don't want to put yourself in, because say they don't make a change and they continue to flood out Joe Flacco. Let's say he finds a win this week versus the Vikings. You're sitting at 2-4. Chances are you're probably not going to put a starter in versus the Steelers. But then that next week, let's just say they do that, and Joe Flacco's still the quarterback. Joe Flacco, we saw what he can do against teams that aren't the good. Like that would be exactly when Joe Flacco strikes gold again, because it isn't those teams that we faced. The whole stigma back in 2023 was, well, Joe Flacco played against trash defenses. Joe Flacco's didn't play against any teams that really mattered. And then you're going to get a stretch of games where Joe Flacco could probably dominate, and then it would prolong that series even longer. Like you have to make the change sooner rather than later, because if you continue to roll Joe out there, Joe's a vet. Eventually, you'll get something that clicks for a week or two, and then you're just going to prolong the situation even longer. So just for real, like this should be the week we see Dylan Gabriel go overseas. You got a lot of time to prep. You're going to have some airtime prep to sit right next to Dylan Gabriel, get a game plan going, throw him out there, and then you get to see him versus an AFC North opponent, which is exactly what you want to see in a young guy, because those are the games that truly matter. The Vikings game, okay, it is what it is. But that Steelers game, what does 8 look like versus the Steelers?
Yeah, that's a great point, because if this is going to be your long-term guy, you want to maximize the opportunities he gets against teams you see twice a year. Obviously, he was never going to see Cincinnati or Baltimore, but the reality is now Pittsburgh, week 6, is staring you in the face. We talked about that being the potential first start for him, which I still think could happen. But like you said, how can it get worse than what you have right now offensively? That's my question. How can it get worse, whether it's quarterback play, offensive play calling, offensive line play, which, again, we really have not talked about much today. How can it get worse? How can it get worse? At some point, got to stick your neck out here. At
Pat,
some point, you got to do it.
Can you share my screen? Because I want to say it can't get as worse as this. Just look at this, right? How do we go 13 plays, 88 yards, right? We think we're good. But then look at this stretch after this. 3 plays, 2 yards. 4 plays, 5 yards. 3 plays, 9 yards. 3 plays, 11 yards. 3 plays, 3 yards. 1 play, 1 yard. 7 plays, 21 yards and a punt. 8 plays, 27 yards. 8 plays, 46 yards. Ready for this one? 3 plays, 3 yards. 3 plays, 3 yards. 5 plays, 14 yards. 3 plays, 3 yards. It can't get any worse than that, Max.
It can't. Something needs to change. And I think the timeline, the logical progression of this thing is quarterback or head coach change. That's the reality of it. I think a lot of people are fed up, again, rightfully so. But, so many people were fed up with Brian Daboll in New York. And again, it's been a week there. He put start in, and all of a sudden, I don't think his job is saved, but it's definitely prolonged. It has to happen in that way because of the process the Browns have gone through. Like, I think something we've also just not talked about with this Browns draft class, which has been exceptional. The process they've gone through landed them Quinshon Judkins, who's been unbelievable. Mason Graham, who's been very good. Carson Schlesinger, who's been unbelievable. Harold Finn Jr., who's been unbelievable. Like, they knew what they were doing with this class. They did. And an opportunity to show that quarterback. I'm just saying, like, if that's going to follow suit with the rest of this class, Dillon Gabriel could look good. Like, he looked solid in the last preseason. Like, I don't know. That has to happen before a coaching change in my mind. I think it does.
There's just some other, like, you think about the one scramble that Joe Flacco had an opportunity to get a first down, and Buddy slides a half a yard before the line of scrimmage.
The line of scrimmage, not even the line of scrimmage.
Dillon Gabriel's not doing that. Like, Dillon Gabriel is probably taking his first read 75% of the time. Yeah. Like, the one thing that we saw with Dillon Gabriel, and I know it's always hard to kind of get a grasp of what exactly you would do in a real regular season game, but when he did come into the preseason games and he did get those starts, the man was as decisive as you could be. He's taking exactly what the defense was giving him. Everything that Joe Flacco was doing at the end of 2023, Dillon Gabriel was doing in those preseason games. You think about the scenario where it's the defense comes up with a huge stop and we get the ball off the interception. We get another week where we get a turnover on their side of the field and we don't come out with 7 points. In a game like that, 3 points sucks so bad. It's almost better not to score at that point. When
we talked about that, yeah.
Yeah, when you get an interception on their side of the territory and only come out with 3, that is so deflating. And another thing that's deflating when it comes, like, you get a good run and then the very next play you get a full start. Like, these are all things. It's almost like they're so excited they did something good that the discipline that they have can't. That's a leadership problem. Your players should not feel like they're on their high horse after one play and it results in a negative play after that. It's a chain reaction every single week. I am so fed up.
I agree, and something has to change. We are going to take a break here. We'll be right back on Honor the Land on the Big Play Sports Network. Welcome back into Honor the Land on the Big Play Sports Network, presented by FanDuel. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Say, and FanDuel is getting you ready for the NFL season with an offer that you won't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style. FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/bigplay to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Ohio, 21 plus and present in Ohio. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I think we have to talk about Jerry Jeudy and the production there if we're talking about the FanDuel ad read here, because I was on his yards, like talked about honor lay, regardless. He had his entire production, his entire yardage in the first quarter, and didn't have a catch for the rest of the game. At what point, again, does something have to change where you have a receiver who's obviously talented? And again, Jerry Judy's not perfect. He's not blame-free in this whole thing. But you have that guy. You have David Njoku, who's unbelievable, like such a talented player, right? David Njoku's stat line: 2 catches for 11 yards. 11 yards in a game where you're trailing. You're literally losing, so you have to throw the football more. Joe Flacco threw the ball 34 times. He completed 16 passes. 16
Look at
passes.
who's our leading receiver was. Look at that.
Exactly. Isaiah Bond, 3 for 58.
No.
Quinshon Judkins had the most catches. Yeah, Quinshon Judkins had 4 catches. Isaiah Bond had 58 yards. And Cedric Tillman, a guy who we have all looked at as, a super talented player, somebody who could step up in this system with Joe Flacco, trusting him a little bit more. It was clear to see in camp that was the case. 6 yards. 1 catch for 6 yards. No pass catcher had more than 4 catches. Judkins had 4. This is utterly ridiculous. Like, it's utterly ridiculous to be losing by multiple touchdowns in a game, in a dome, and complete 16 passes. 16 passes. Maybe it's a play calling thing, maybe it's a coaching thing, but my goodness, is this staring us in the face at the quarterback position? I don't know what else we need to see.
I don't know either. And that's a great question because it's almost to a fault that Kevin Stefanski. It's like, bruh, you ride for your guy. We get it, bro. Like we truly get it. We've seen
Does
it.
he though? Does he though? Like that's what I want to ask.
Yeah,
Does he really? Because if Kevin Stefanski, we talked about this last week. If Kenny Pickett didn't have the hamstring injury, I don't know if he would have started week 1, but there definitely would have been a competition. Stefanski said that multiple times. Kenny Pickett probably would have played yesterday. I don't know if Stefanski really does. Like
or maybe it's not his guy. He rides with his plan, and whatever his plan is, he'll ride. And then here's why I'll say that, because we agreed on the whole Kenny Pickett thing, by the way, because we talked about that on the last show.
Yep.
But you think about this year, Joe Flacco. It's been bad. We probably agree that he could have been benched after week. Everyone would have probably been okay had he been benched after week 1, right? You think back to last year, it took Deshaun Watson to tearing his Achilles to move on to another quarterback when it was clear and evident by week 4 or 5 that you probably should have benched that quarterback. When DTR was starting, it took him like 4 weeks to move on from him when it was ever so clear that probably after the first drive, he probably shouldn't have been in our quarterback. You think back to who was it before that? It was you think back to Harrison Bryant's of the world. You think back to give me another guy who was this guy. All I'm saying is when he has a plan in place, he will not deviate from it until he has exhausted every single part of that plan. And that's his downfall. He doesn't want to adjust. He doesn't want to he doesn't want to make the move that needs to be made, because this is what happens when you have the smartest guy in the room always wanting to be the smartest guy in the room. This is where that Ivy League thing comes into play, because it's clear that it's what he wants to do and not what's best overall. Because if he does what's best overall, Q would be getting the ball more. Harold would be getting the ball more. You'd be trying everything possible to get Jerry Jeudy the ball, whether it be wraparounds, screen passes. If you see he's not catching the deep pass, maybe get him some rhythms, things going. You see Isaiah Bond make 3 really, really good catches, and you just don't find a way to go back to him. The good coaches will find a way to utilize their best players, and that's the one thing where we have an offensive guru. You would think that would be his strong suit. It seems to be his Achilles heel.
That's a good way to put it. And I think the fact that we just sat here for 2 minutes and named multiple times where players, but more specifically quarterbacks, weren't working out, and Kevin Stefanski was, whether it was him afraid or didn't pull the trigger on a change, that is like masking the bigger problem here. The bigger problem is the fact that we always need a quarterback change, right? That's an insane thing to think. Like, injuries happen. You completely understand that. And the Deshaun Watson experiment, I don't even know. I don't think you want to call last year an experiment, but Deshaun Watson playing last year was cut short because of the injury, not his play, even though he wasn't good. Like, that's the hard reality of it. But who's to say when the rode Watson out for a little bit after that, right?
Oh,
If
every single week it was he
yeah,
gave us the best chance to win.
well, I think anybody who watched last year would say that was not the case with Jameis Winston. But regardless, like that process that you have to go through on a monthly basis, bi-monthly, where you're like, damn, our quarterback isn't good enough. We got to make a change. That's insane. That's insane. And apparently, you got your guy in the building right now in Dylan Gabriel. Put him in the game. Like, what are we? I don't know what we're waiting for. I don't know what we're waiting for with a defense that's arguably the best in the NFL with decent skill players around you. It's not like your offensive line is getting any younger. I know the tackles are a completely different situation, but what are we waiting for? I don't understand what we're waiting for.
You know what we're waiting for, and I hate that I have to go down this route, but I've been on this train for a few months now. They're waiting for Brook Park. I'm telling you, it's written all on our face, and us as Browns fans, and myself included, don't want to believe it, but the signs are on the wall. It is
What do you
written all
what do you
over.
mean by waiting? Like
They
waiting to make a quarterback change? Like I'm
No,
confused. What
I'm
do you mean?
talking
Like
about waiting for the shift and why we are so pissed. We sit here and we talk every single year about we need a coaching change or we need this type of change. But think about all of the moves that have been made up until this point. None of it is right now move. The only right now move was Myles Garrett, and that was basically because they were not gonna let him walk away. We can tip their hats on that.
yeah,
But everything that is set up for the future. Before Myles Garrett was here and he was banging on the table and going on Radio Row every single week, they were telling us that, yeah, we're not really competing for a Super Bowl this year. It's probably going to be a 2-3 year thing. Mary Kay reported that multiple times. I mean, Andrew Berry kind of told us that. The moves that they were making were kind of telling us that. And now here we are again, 4 weeks into the season, 1-4. Every single week, we're like, they probably should make a quarterback change. But you think about the future. We've got 2 first-round picks next year, plenty of draft capital. You hit a grand slam in this year's draft. If they do that again next year and they do it again the year after that, Brook Park is going to be a freaking party, bro, because you are going to have your studs. You're going to have your cornerstone pieces. You may have your quarterback of the future. And then you can come in with that change with the new head coach and the new energy and the new voice and the new this. Like, all signs point to Brook Park. I just have to keep telling myself that because this is what they're showing me. If we were winning games and the coach was making tough decisions, maybe I think differently, but it's clear as day that they are okay with losing because that's what it's been for the past 2.5 years.
yeah. I agree with you in principle that the eyes are towards Brook Park with the young future of this team. I think I'd agree more if Brook Park was a year or two away and not 4. Like I still think these like Stefanski is coaching for his job. Like that's a man coaching for his livelihood. Like I don't think his eyes are set on that. I don't really think the front office as it relates to the next year or two is set on that. Like I think they're so laser focused on doing their jobs, no pun intended for the laser eyes Andrew Berry, but like they're focused on doing their jobs. But you're right. Like the young stars are there. You talked about probably back in July over the summer about these extensions. Like you're going to, if you extend Greg Newsome mid-season or in the offseason, like Greg Newsome is a cornerstone piece you're walking into Brook Park with. How comfortable are you with that? A Grant Delpit extension that could come anytime soon. Maybe David Njoku, which I don't know if it's going to happen, but those are guys you're planning on walking into the next chapter of your franchise with. Those are big decisions. And even though it is 4 years away, that is in the back of your mind when you're making some of these decisions, and it will move even closer to the front of your mind when you get 2 years away, when you get a year away.
Yep.
But I think you still have to see pretty soon what you got in Dylan Gabriel. And like there, I want to make this very clear. Like we always talk about the times when it would be best to start your rookie quarterback. If it's at home, if it's against a division rival. At this point with the Cleveland Browns guys, there is no good time to start Dylan Gabriel. You just got to nip it in the bud right now and do it. Seriously, nothing is changing. The offense looks anemic, and the guys in the building need a jolt. They need a jolt. I don't know what it is right now that's in the building that's going to do it, but a change at the most important position on the field is probably your best shot, to be honest with you.
You think about coaches that have been or are on a hot seat. You want to know why, as much as we sit here and we talk about Kevin Stefanski's on the hot seat, we'll know how much of a hot seat he's on this week, because if he was on a true hot seat, Dylan Gabriel will be our quarterback next week.
Yes, that's a good point.
We're witnessing it. Brian Dable job was on the line last week. He made the change. Now, this is very, I could be talking on the side of my neck, but Mike Tomlin felt pressure last year to put Justin Fields in over So like, our coach can't be on the hot seat if he rolls out Joe Flacco again, because he must feel comfortable enough to continue to roll it out there. So is Kevin Stefanski really on the hot seat? That's what I'm really kind of talking myself into, because I'm watching other quarterbacks around the league and other coaches around the league make tough decisions. And it's like, oh yeah, their job may be on the line. You see the whole Tua fiasco and the Mike Daniels, the player meetings, like you could tell he's on the hot seat. Maybe we're delusioning ourselves and thinking that he's on the hot seat, and really he's not, because if he was, Gabriel would be our quarterback.
I fully and wholeheartedly agree. I think there's a lot of substance to every pissed off Browns fan outside of just you and me who are like, fires Stefanski. Like, there is substance to that, especially because it's been a thing, I don't know, for a while. I don't know how long it'll date back to really, but I talked about it in April or May, the trade that the Browns made, the way they went about this draft, it almost definitely bought Andrew Berry another year or two. Like, that to me was no doubt. But if Andrew Berry believes Kevin Stefanski is the right coach, it's going to buy him more time too. Like, that's the reality of it. And again, I don't think it's delusion to say that Stefanski could be on the hot seat. Like, you look at the way the schedule is set up for the two coaches under the most pressure walking into this year. It was Dable and Stefanski. Brutal. Like, the first 8 or 9 weeks of the schedule almost designed to get those guys fired. Dable made a decision that's probably going to prolong his job. I think probably for the rest of the year. I'd be shocked if he gets fired midseason. Stefanski,
you know why? Because that's his guy. So why aren't we seeing Kevin Stefanski's guy?
Exactly what I'm trying to ask. What needs to happen? What needs to change? Does the weather need to be like, what needs to happen for this to change, guys? Somebody please tell me. I don't understand why we continue to do this. I'm going to go back to what I said 25 minutes ago. The definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over without change and expecting a different result. That is exactly what is happening with the Browns right now. It's frustrating. And I'm somebody who's been out here for whatever, like 6-7 years. And I love Cleveland. I love the Browns. I didn't grow up in Cleveland watching the Browns going through all this pain, but the past 6 or 7 years, it's been very, very similar where it's like, okay, this isn't working. What needs to change? And the one time a dramatic change was made, I don't know if this has scarred them, was when they got Deshaun Watson. That's the one time a dramatic change was made. And, I don't want to open a whole Baker Mayfield can of worms right now, but that's the reality of it. And the past, however long I've been in Cleveland, watching this unfold, it's been the same story. Something needs to change. And outside of a miraculous 2023 season and the playoff win when you had one hell of a roster, nothing has changed.
It's just frustrating, bro. Like, I just think about, I'm watching the Cowboys game last night, and I'm like, damn, they're really using Turpin to his best ability. He's so fast. And then I'm like thinking to myself, damn, we have Isaiah Bond, a guy who is just as fast, and we don't know how to get him the ball. And you think back to all these years, and it's just weird how we watch other teams and we see other teams' offenses move the ball, and it just looks so effortless. It looks so fun. Like, I just know, like, even if you do lose, it's like, hey, at least we're scoring points, right? Like, it would be so much fun at this point. Like, you could plug Jacoby Brissett into this offense, and I think we'd be having a lot more fun at this point. Jacoby Brissett was a fun era. I think people forget how fun that stretch was with Jacoby Brissett, but that was the one quarterback over the past few years that I've seen give us his all. There was never a doubt when I looked up and I'm like, damn, Jacoby ain't trying. Like
I
Jacoby
think Jameis. I think Jameis too.
Jameis was fun, but Jameis came with that different energy. That's like comparing an apple and an orange. Like
That's fair. Yeah.
Jameis is different because Jameis is a national treasure to the world and what he is. Jacoby Brissett was just a guy off the street that came in here to ask to fill your shoes for the 11-game suspension. But he gave us a lot of fun football during that stretch, even though we lost a lot of games.
He did. And well, you know what's so crazy? We've been on here for 45 minutes and haven't said a peep about the defense. That should tell you everything you need to know. Now, I will say, like, I talked about it last week. I thought this was a different animal compared to the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, anybody who watched that game, it is so clear to see how special of a player Jahmyr Gibbs is. Like, he is truly unbelievable. And I think Derrick Henry is probably a better overall running back, and the Browns were able to bottle him up, but nobody – I'm just going to say nobody in the NFL is as explosive as Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm just going to say it in terms of the running back position. But, you know, you can only bottle up a team's offensive players to literally having no production for so long. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs had great games. But, like, outside of that, David Montgomery averaged a yard a carry. 1 yard per carry. It's utterly insane. Sam Laporta almost did nothing. Jameson Williams was bottled up a little bit, had some, explosive opportunities. But the Browns' defense is so good. They just need some help. And the game script that you just walked through, where the fourth quarter was 3-and-out. There are multiple 3-and-outs in the third quarter. Like it's actually unbelievable. I couldn't believe what I was watching.
It's unbelievable. And then the Lions scored 34 points, bro. I'm looking at this depth. I'm looking at this the chart. You held Jared Goff to 168 yards passing.
Insane.
You held Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs to only 103 yards. And that 24-yard run from Gibbs was that one run in the third or fourth quarter. Like, Jahmyr Gibbs really wasn't getting off that much. You held Amon-Ra, who we thought was going to carve up this defense, for really 7 catches, 70 yards, and a couple of those were all chunk throw. Like, 2 of those catches were chunk throws. Sam Laporta, 39 yards. Jameson Williams dropped 8 targets and only caught 2 of them. Like, this is one of the best offenses, if not the best offense in the league, and you practically held them to an average game at best. The offense gave them all those points. That is. Is it Sunday? I need a win in my mouth.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I want to finish the episode by saying, putting my neck out a little bit. It's Monday right now, depending on when you're watching this, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't think a quarterback change is going to happen. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. The Browns are going to win this Sunday, 100%. Like, they are going to win and complicate this thing even more. The Minnesota Vikings are beat up front. Like, Carson Wentz, I don't know if anybody watched the Steelers-Vikings game who's watching this right now. Carson Wentz was literally running for his life. Steelers' defensive line is very good. But the Browns' defensive line is better. Carson Wentz, especially if they're as beat up as they are, is going to be running for his life. They're not going to be able to run the ball very well. Jordan Mason's a good back, but Browns can stop it up. And on the other side of the ball, the reality is the Vikings DBs, even though they're in a great scheme, a little bit suspect. And the Steelers' offensive line, oh my gosh, I don't want to give the Steelers any more praise than they deserve, but that's not going to be a team anybody wants to play if they can move people like they did and make Kenneth Gainwell look like. I saw a video saying Kenneth Gainwell, the people in Ireland think he's Barry Sanders because of how good he was. But that, it's the reality. The Browns are going to have success. They're going to win on Sunday, and it's going to complicate things even more. That's what's going to happen.
I'm just looking back at the last time you said that. Do you remember the score of the last time we played the the Vikings?
I'm trying to think.
Remember what happened after that? This is all a chain reaction that happened.
When was the last time they played? Was it when
2021?
I would say it was when Baker was on the roster. I don't remember, to be honest with you, but
it was 14-7, and I believe shortly after that was when Odell's father dropped the tape.
Oh no!
Because remember that Odell was up the sideline wide open, and Odell didn't hit him. Like, crazy to look at. Another crazy stat. We were 3-1 up until that point.
Oh, I don't want to get
bro. We were 3-1 up until that point, bro. And guess what we did this game? We ran the ball more than we passed it. We threw the ball 33 times.
That was Chubb and Hunt, correct?
That was Chubb and Hunt. They had a combined 35 carries. We ran the ball 38 times. Baker Mayfield went 15 of 33 for $155.
And you know what? People who love Baker Mayfield so much will look back and say, "Oh man, we should have kept him." Come on, guys. Let's be real.
It was bad. And we were still 3-1.
And that, again, that comes down to a lot of things, but that comes down to coaching. What the hell happened in the last 4 years then? Like, it's insane. And, you know, two-time coach of the year will always be the defense point. And there's some substance to it. Like, you don't just win coach of the year for not being a good coach. But that's got to run out at some point, right? That's got to run out at some point. You don't think it will?
Those coach of the years are like they're like participation trophies. Because I always think I'll never forget the Texans game because you got smacked in the playoffs to the coach that probably should have won it. Like that will always sit in my head. I think the Texans were 4-12 before that season, and then they turned around, got a new coach, CJ Stroud. You probably didn't even deserve it that year.
Yeah, well, you still won it, and then against D'Amico Ryans in the playoffs, got beat up.
Supposed to be Pat says that was supposed to be Stefanski's revenge game too.
Hey, you know what? 14-7. 14-7, and it was Pat said a touchdown, 2 field goals, and safety. Like, that's insane. One offensive touchdown. It's been happening for 4 years, and you know the big change was the Baker to Deshaun, and it didn't work out. Maybe they're scarred. I don't know, but I think a change needs to happen. We'll end by saying this. I want a prediction, Zay. Do you think a quarterback change happens this week?
Yeah.
Regardless if you do.
I do. I don't think you can do an. I think we could potentially see both quarterbacks next week.
Wow.
I think they probably still go with Joe, just for the simple fact that it is the overseas game, and this is probably your last and best opportunity to maybe showcase that you can do something on the offensive side of the ball because the Vikings aren't playing or are in the predicament that they are in right now. But the Vikings isn't a slouch defense. But if Joe Flacco comes out in this first quarter, and he's throwing an interception and balls are in the ground, and we're 3 and out, like we saw this past week, I don't see how you can survive another 4 quarters with Joe Flacco as your quarterback. So I'm gonna take the over on over a half a quarterback or 1.5 quarterbacks. I think we see 2.
I want that to happen so bad, and I want to make that so clear. A quarterback change needs to happen. I just saw my childhood team do it, and I've never been more enthused as a fan. I can't even imagine how the players in the locker room are feeling. I want it to happen so bad, it's not going to happen.
The real question is, when is it perfect timing?
Will it be? Because we talked about it last week. I hate to say this. I hate the words that are about to come out of my mouth. I think they're going to go Deshaun Watson before they go Shedeur Sanders. I think that's the reality.
You know what's crazy? We would have saw Shedeur this past week. Lamar pulled himself.
And
that's why it's so weird.
I don't know.
Lamar pulled himself. They would have went. Remember, they signed Cooper Rush.
Yeah. I think it would have been the Cooper Rush. I like Cooper Rush.
Nah, it would have been Shedeur 1,000%.
You think he's kicking himself now?
I don't think he's kicking himself, but it just sucks that we might not actually see. This is actually the thing that we're going to have to be watching all week, is the Deshaun Watson news, because I believe this is the week where they have to decide whether or not he's going to be activated or not. So this is going to be a big week for that. And all the videos that we've seen, I know Daryl Ryder was on the radio yesterday. I know he's going to ask the question, if someone else doesn't, are they going to activate Deshaun Watson? Because if they do activate Deshaun Watson, you're probably right. We'll probably see 4 before we see 12.
Yeah. Well, so Watson is on the PUP list right now. So if he's on IR, he doesn't have that weird activation, that 21-day window. So I don't think there's as much pressure, but the reality is inherently there is pressure because of how bad the quarterback play has been. So look, the reality is once they put Dylan Gabriel in, it sets the rest of this thing in motion, because if Dylan Gabriel has a bad month or 2, people are going to be calling for another change. Like you and I might even do it. But here's the reality. A month or 2 from now, Deshaun Watson could be healthy. A month or two from now, Shedeur Sanders could, step in garbage time in a blowout because the Browns have a couple tough opponents and look good. That's the reality of it. Things are going to change in the next month or two that we probably don't even expect. I'm not ruling out one of these guys getting traded, to be honest with you, before the deadline. I mean, you see all these teams, they need quarterback depth. There was an average stat came out last year. On average, more than 2 quarterbacks were placed on or used on a team. Like I look at the Cincinnati Bengals, maybe they trade for Russell Wilson, but maybe they were to, if the Browns weren't in their division, maybe they were to trade for a Joe Flacco. I also look at teams like the Philadelphia Eagles, who this offseason were super, super aggressive in getting a backup quarterback and really a third string quarterback because they knew how good their roster was. Like I am not ruling out some of these teams taking big swings trying to trade for quarterbacks. Now, you're trading for Joe Flacco. You know what you're trading for at this point, but they still
Wait,
could
you
do it.
think people are going to trade for Flacco?
I think there's a potential world that exists. Absolutely. I think
No way.
I think the big trade piece is Deshaun Watson, to be honest with you. But
I,
I think 4 quarterbacks very naturally you're going to start making calls if you're Andrew Berry.
no one's trading for Flacco. If anything, he'll get put. There's no one's trading for Flacco. Not after what we've seen at the
But
end
the
of
thing is,
last
like,
year and this year. No one would sign up for that. At that point, you'd be better off testing the luck and trying to find something like there's got to be better free agents out there, or there's got to be a better solution. No one's gonna be like, "Hey, I got a 7th for you for Joe."
that's true. That's true. Yeah, Pat said Kirk Cousins is out there. I mean, Jameis is the third string quarterback in New York. I mean, there are better guys for sure, but who's to say they like Atlanta, especially? I don't think Atlanta's prepared to move off of Kirk Cousins because of how inconsistent Penix has been. And that to me, I've talked about that multiple times. Falcons are a good football team. They got a lot of talent on that team. They need a quarterback to play well, and Penix played well. Granted, it was against the beat up Commanders, but he played well enough and he won the 30 plus points against the Commanders. Like Kirk potentially. I think Jameis is the big one. Jameis or Russ,
Mm.
whichever one the Giants are more comfortable moving off of. That's the big one to me. But I'm telling you, if Andrew Berry has 4 quarterbacks on the roster, he is going to make calls. That is going to happen.
Can we just get it right? Like,
No,
honestly, if
the answer
Deshaun
is
Watson
no.
came in, like I if you're gonna play Deshaun Watson, low key, play him in the middle of the season. Because if you do strike gold and he does look
Yeah,
good,
imagine.
I don't want him coming in week 16, 15 and stringing together 1 or 2 games and then us going into the offseason with this dumbass conversation, which is, oh, can Deshaun be did? No, if he's gonna come in, give him these starts halfway through the season, and let's see 8 weeks of a sample size versus 2, because if anybody could throw for 1 or 2 games, I need to see it more than that. So we are Browns is the Browns, man. Damn you, Juju.
It's unbelievable. And I think that Watson conversation kind of feeds into why. I mean, I even brought up the question if we saw him before Gabriel, but like if you see him before Shador, and I think you do, even though it's a tough reality to face. But we appreciate you guys watching. We appreciate you listening. We'll be back on Friday to talk about the matchup against the Vikings. But until then, stay strong. Keep your Twitter notifications on. If there's a coaching change, probably not. Quarterback change, much more likely. Any final words before we sign off, Zay?
It's always here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
Who? Well, we appreciate you guys. We will see you next time on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network.